Now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has confirmed that it is in talks for another oil-backed loan to boost its finances and allow investments in its business. According to reports, NNPCL is seeking to raise at least $2 billion through the proposed new loan. There are, however, concerns about this proposed crude-backed loan, as oil marketers want the NNPCL to be mindful of such loans so they do not become detrimental to Nigeria's oil sector. Talks of a loan are coming at a time when the country is experiencing fuel scarcity and marketers say they are having issues with purchasing the product. Joining us in the studio is lead consultant, Macbeat Transnational Limited, Adeshegun Oshibanjo. Thank you so much for being on the program with us this morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me here as well.
Right. So despite looking at NNPC, despite the debt that it has actually accrued, especially the debt of gasoline supplies, which is, doubling to $6 billion in 4 months, NNPC is actually seeking to raise $2 billion through a new oil-backed loan. Now, talk to us about how you think this will affect or impact its finances and investments.
It's a $2 billion loan, like they said, and it's to invest and upgrade their infrastructures at operation and all that. The loan is good in its real, how do I put it? In principle, yes, the loan is good, but the problem is how well will it be utilized? Because NNPC has this, how do I put it now, public image of being a very wasteful organization. The mismanagement level there is extremely high. So people are not very comfortable with NNPC. Again, look at it. We have 2 urgent stables in Nigeria. The first urgent stable is the CBN, which has been cleansed. But unfortunately, NNPC has not been cleansed. It's like having an old wine in a new bottle. The moment it metamorphosed from a government corporation to a limited liability company, what most of us expected was that there would be change of guards, but it's still the same old guys. So people are, very skeptical with this.
You're not exactly thrilled. You're okay with the loan, but then
yes,
you're worried about the implementation of this loan.
It's implementation of it.
It's been our own worry.
Like I said earlier, NNPC is noted for high-level mismanagement and wastage. Now, what has government put in place in terms of policies to be able to manage? To really manage this loan when secured. So again, details of the loans are extremely sketchy. We don't know how much is the payback, how much is the payback amount, the terms and conditions of the loan. We don't know the tenor and all that. All that are not disclosed. Again, we know NNPC's operations have been highly secretive, very secretive operations. There is a need for NNPC to become very transparent. Like as we are today, if you ask anybody, some of us will tell you the predicament we're in today with fuel supplies is the handiwork of NNPC because they are not transparent. We've been asking them for them to release the costing template for just one shipload of fuel, whether diesel, whether PMS, but unfortunately that has not happened till date. So there is no transparency. It looks like, how do I call it, a cartel organization. It looks like a cult organization. So all that needs to be broken.
So let's not also make claims here. We've had the managing director of the NNPC come out so many times to give us information as regards that organization. But picking it up from what you mentioned about the fact that you agree with the loan,
yes,
in terms of principle, it is
in principle, yes.
But does it not bother you that the NNPCL also got a loan late last year and is here to repay that?
If you sum that up now, I think we're looking at 5.5 billion. Is it 5.5 or 5?
And 2 billion. That's 5.3
3.3 billion.
Okay, 3.3. Yes, that's 5.3 billion. I mean, that's another issue that is still running. And they intend to do that at, is it 70,000 barrels per day? Now, this is another 40,000 barrels per day. How are they going to cope with all this? Again, we also know the fact that NNPC is a joint, I mean, when you're looking at the upstream operations of NNPC, it's a joint venture thing. The last time I checked, it was 55%, I mean, for their own part of the, for their own share of the joint venture. But now I'm seeing something like 40%. So it means the total oil production, they will have like maybe about 55 or 40% to manage. And it's out of there that the capital expenditures of the country will come out from. So this is where I say we need to really manage
what you're
this.
saying is that they're losing hold.
Yes.
They're losing hold already.
Yes.
So when you look at the fact that the NNPC is also still owing fuel suppliers, those who also supply also fuel, about I think about $6 billion in the last 4 months, and we're trying to get a loan. How sure are we that this loan will actually be effective and not to service this debt?
Like what the NNPC GMD explained is that this is just their normal working, it looks like more of a working capital loan from what he said. And he said they are not in any crisis, and he believes this is an easy thing. I know Afrexim Bank is running away from this because of the, I mean, the exposure level, their risk exposure level to Nigeria now is extremely high. They cannot continue to sustain that. So they are running away. And what the GMD is saying is they are looking up to their regular partners to provide this cash. So I don't know, but from what he is telling us, he is confident paying back is not a problem. But some of us are worried that paying back will be a problem and that it won't be the usual thing where monies will be collected and there will be no accountability. Like I said earlier on, there is no visibility into NNPC's operations, into their finances. You really don't know.
If that has been a case with the NNPC back in the day, different administrations, do you feel that this administration is not doing enough to, hold NNPC by its jugular? Because, well, it's not even NNPC Limited. It's just not used to be the NNPC of the old. So the reason why it becomes NNPCL, now gone limited, do you not feel that something has changed as against the narrative about the NNPC of the old?
See, this is what most of us were expecting to see. Like I said earlier on, CBN was cleansed. We also expect a high-level cleansing here because everything around oil revolves, it revolves around NNPC. Now, when you say you change a company from being a government corporation to a limited liability company, it's still a government entity, quite all right. And we expect that we'll see some high-level restructuring of the operations of the NNPC. We're talking upstream operations, we're talking midstream, we're talking downstream. So all that is expected to be seen with the new liability company. But we're yet to see all that.
Well, if you look at NNPCL's overdue bills, which have exceeded the allowed exposure levels for some oil trading houses, how do you think this new loan impacts NNPC's relationships with oil trading houses and its ability to pay overdue bills, which have actually pushed some of the traders to participating in NNPC's tenders?
See, one thing is there is overbearing pressure on NNPC right now, being the sole importer of oil, and that's an issue. It's even risky. But unfortunately, the other importers say they don't have access to dollars. So the government really needs to look at the possibility of getting or empowering other, previous importers to get back to importing to ease the pressure. Like I said, some of these trading houses are running away from NNPC. And if the MD says he's sure their current partners would readily put the funds to the table for their use, then let's go.
And we still see the likes of Dangote Refinery. I want to pick it up from
yes.
what you talked about
Yes.
the NNPCL being the sole importer of fuel, and then the Dangote Refinery at a point was meant to be our other option. I mean, something we could rely on. But you still see him importing from the United States from the WTI grade. How is this going to impact, our move to become an oil-producing nation, having to use most of our resources for ourselves?
See, one of the serious consequences of what we're doing with NNPC right now is that there will be no crude available for local cracking. When I say local cracking, I mean local refining here. Now, there was a video of Senator Adams Ali Oshomole that I watched recently, where at a point, he was even cursing that those that are responsible for Dangote not getting crude oil to crack. He was almost cursing. But I tell you, this is a major consequence of this this commodity-backed loan that we're into.
Yeah.
Dangote will not get crude. That's one. Not just Dangote. Our local refineries that we said have started working, that most of us are looking up for reprieve that we will get by the time they start local cracking, we'll start getting affordable fuel. That will not happen. Now, what this is saying is that the government needs to ramp up on its investment drive to ensure that more investors are brought into the upstream sector so that we have more crude, to not just for export, for local consumption, because we need a lot of crude to crack locally for our use. And that's one major problem that Dangote Refinery is having.
So it's not only the issue of having access to crude. Some of these things, apart from the fact that they are international, they are actually local. If you look at what the GMD Meleki said, he said they're looking at that we have the capacity to produce 2 million barrels per day because we are currently doing 1.2. Even the president is daring the odds, saying that the government is looking at producing 2 billion barrels per day. But given the significant impact of pipeline theft and underinvestment on Nigeria's oil production, how do you think this loan will address these issues and revitalize this sector?
See, let me also say this. NNPC and its infrastructures have been abandoned for like over 40 years, I would say. And that's the handiwork of successive administration. This is not the handiwork
but we have people working at the NNPC drawing salaries.
Yes, I'm talking about their infrastructures now. Yes.
Okay.
When I'm talking infrastructures, I'm talking the upstream infrastructure, the midstream. Of course, we all know the midstream, which are the refineries.
That's right.
Let's hope we'll get the refineries right this time. Okay, and the downstream. But the upstream part has suffered a lot of neglect. There has been pipeline vandalism. The upstream infrastructures generally, they have not been upgraded for over 40 years. So that's what the GMD is trying to tell us now that they want to look into, and possibly to also ramp up production. We believe sincerely, if this is done, it may improve things, but the fact is we need to really ramp up production by bringing in or encouraging more investors to enter into the upstream the upstream ventures or upstream operations of the NNPC.
Already coming in.
So Dangote is midstream refinery. Right. When I say upstream, I'm talking the likes of Mobil Exxon, Chevron, those that are into oil exploration.
Now. One of them actually left the country just recently.
Which one of them?
Was it? There's this particular one. The name actually skipped my head. But because we are talking about some companies that are actually looking to coming into Nigeria.
Yes.
Others are also looking to go out
to
because
exit.
Of current issues or the current reforms and policies that they are facing. So do you feel that we have all the infrastructure or the infrastructural capability to attract some of these investors?
See, I tell you, Nigeria has got what it takes in terms of oil and gas. okay, to ramp up to, you mentioned the president looking up to, was it 2 billion barrels per day?
Per day production.
It is possible because the crude reserves that we have can actually accommodate that. Now, what we're not doing right is, there are a lot we're not managing well. We're not managing the host communities well, and this is why maybe some have had to leave, and maybe some got used to the old ways of doing things. They got too comfortable. But unfortunately, the truth is, the president is not making things very comfortable for, for shady dealers. The hawks are really, really challenging him seriously since he came up with that that glorious statement: fuel subsidy is gone. They've been attacking him seriously, and they've been dealing with all of his policies, ensuring they undermine a lot of his policies. That we all need to appreciate. So for the ones that you said had left, they will have their reasons. It could be that they are getting uncomfortable with, the current policies of these administrations might be unfavorable to them, and we can't help that.
So when you say that we should ramp up production, we should focus more on investment, there's a statement that Dangote has repeatedly talked about, and it may not have gathered as much attention that we expect it to get. He mentioned the fact that there are some persons, he even mentioned the IOC, sabotaging production. And we know that the GMD of the NNPCL also alluded to this fact, that there are individuals within the system that are trying to, sabotage the system. And while we are trying to, put as much investment into that sector, we're trying to get what we can get from that sector. If we still have these persons in place, we may not be able to make as much progress. I'm sure you know that, including even these loans that we are getting. We may not be able to put it to good use. We're talking about crude oil theft and other vices within the oil sector.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Like I told you, most of us expect a change of guards, most particularly when you migrated from government corporation
to a private,
limited, not private, limited liability. Don't let's get that wrong. But like I said, that did not happen. Like we know, I'll say it again. The hawks are everywhere. They are highly unhappy with a lot of the policies of this administration because it's no longer favoring them. The excesses or excess funds they have access to, all that has been taken away from them. So they are fighting back on all fronts. And this is why the government too has to get more proactive. We've gotten to the point that the government has to make some of these hawks scapegoats. If that does not happen, we might not get out of this doldrum.
Talking about some of the companies that are actually leaving the country, we have Total Energies, which the French company, which is planning to sell its 10% stake in the Shell Petroleum Development Company. There is Shell, there is Equinor, there is ENI, and there is ExxonMobil, which announced it had entered an agreement to sell the entire share capital of its Nigerian subsidiary for shallow water operations. Do you think there are any grave implications to these plans?
For me, I really don't see any grave implications. Now, what I'd expected is for them to tell us why are they actually leaving. They're silent about that. So, like I said earlier on, it could be that the policies of the administration have become unfavorable to them. All the corner cuttings they were doing, they are no longer able to do that.
What an economist actually said, because I read an article which was written by one of the economists, outside of the country, saying that most of the countries that are currently leaving the country, not just Nigeria, but mainly, significantly those of Nigeria, based on the fact that they were reaping or they were enjoying the loopholes that the previous administrations allowed them. And now that the tightening of policies and reforms are coming on board, is not favoring them, but favoring the masses. But the masses are yet to, see whether these reforms are favoring them. See,
truth is, reforms favoring the masses would actually take some time. That's the truth. It's not something that will happen overnight. This is a systemic decadence that have happened
over the years.
Not just over the years, over successive administrations. So for you to now expect today that reforms that were started barely 1 year, and you want to start seeing the manifestation of the fruits of those reforms, sincerely, we need to give this administration some time. And again, what I would also say is, when we're doing cash-backed commodities...
oh, you mean oil-backed commodities?
I mean, sorry, how do I put it? Okay, oil-backed loans, right?
Right.
Oil is a commodity.
Oil is a commodity. Oh, sorry, oil-backed loan.
Yes.
That's right.
Oil is a commodity. Now, I'm an apostle of don't export raw products. Export refined products. Okay? Processed products. If you don't add value to a product and you just export, you're more like shortchanging yourself. Now, if you look at this, well, I mean, like, let's take oil, for example, now. One barrel of oil sells for how much, as at today now, is $89.12. Okay? Now, 1 barrel of crude oil consists, you have PMS, 75.5 liters. You have diesel, 45 liters. You have aviation fuel. You have it as about 15.5 liters in 1 barrel. There are still other components like the bitumen part and the rest of them. But let's just look at the fuel part alone, okay? Now, by the time you do all this, you come to see that all this totals, what's it called now? If you break all these down into Naira, I think I did this breakdown into Naira, so let me still maintain what I have here. When I converted $89.12 into Naira, I had 136,353, okay? Now, that's at the rate of 1,530, okay? Now, coming down to all this, by the time you do the math of all these all these products, PMS, diesel, all that, you will get a total of 187,901. Okay? Now, net, do the difference between the crude, okay, and the refined product. You have a 51,000 difference. Okay? Now, from that 51,000 difference, we're looking to do, NNPC is looking to do 30,000 barrels. Yes, per day. Now, if you multiply that by 51,000, you get, that's about 1.5 billion Naira. Now, you convert that into dollars, you get 1.01 million Naira. Now, look at that difference. You understand my point? Now, if you would have, we're shortchanging ourselves daily by $1.01 million. So how would they have been if if the cash-backed loan we're doing is a refined product and not the crude?
Funnily enough, because we have just little time to go.
Yes,
okay. You're talking about having to take all of these outside of the country and then buy refined product. Dangote will definitely also source for crude oil outside of the country, just like Olamide had raised earlier.
Yes.
And then the refinery will produce 650 barrels per day, but its loans and crude oil feedstocks cost are in US dollars.
Yes.
So do you not feel that, how do you think this will affect its sales strategy? Would it meet our expectations very quickly?
Sincerely, the fact is, when you look at the cost, the cost breakdown of imported products, okay. Now, what we call the vessel cost, which is the freight cost, yes, yeah, that will be taken out. It's a large chunk. It's about 3 times the product itself. So I did one simulation in one of the articles I did. Now, that will not be there. what's it called, the FOB cost, that's taken from the refinery abroad to the port of loading, will also not be there. All these are large chunks. Then the terminal charges here, all that will not be there. What will be there is the cost of production. And I tell you, if we do the cost breakdown, it will still not be as bad as what we're having.
Well, it's an ongoing conversation, and then we'll see how all of this will definitely help. NNPC said it's going ahead to collect this loan. We'll see definitely how they're going to effectively utilize it, because definitely your message will definitely get to them. Thank you very kindly, lead consultant, Mark Beats, Transnational Limited, Adeshegun Oshibanjo. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Analysis.
Thank you.
Do stay with us here on TVC.